Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the next edition of the Fezcast. And joining me and Matt tonight is Sam. How you doing, Sam? You good?
All good, thanks, mate. Enjoyed the long weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're recording this Bank Holiday Monday. The obvious big news is Jackson Wray announcing his retirement on the weekend, and we're going to talk to Jackson, and that's going to be our part two of this today. And then us three will have a chat about it afterwards. So we'll leave Jackson on the back burner for now. But did we all watch the women's rugby over the weekend?
See, I've seen a bit of it. I've seen enough to comment.
More than normal, then, Sam. But I mean, let's start with the less so good, then, and move on to the really good. But I mean, the less good. Saracens women went down to Sandy Park, down the M5 to Exeter to play in the final of the Allianz Cup, and wasn't a beat, just came up a bit short. I thought first 10, 15 minutes, we looked like we were going to put them to the sword, and they went down. Exeter, the 14 players. There's a little bit of dodginess going around throughout that game, I thought. There was a little bit of niggle as well, but we just didn't. They just had a little bit much more, I suppose. I don't know what it was really. What was the difference? What do you think, Matt?
I think if anything, there's more niggle in the Saracens Exeter women's games than there are in the men's games sometimes, which says a lot. But yeah, Exeter have taken that cup seriously the last couple of years, as they should do, and their team is still that sort of mix of. They've been the Exeter Globetrotters in the league for a couple of years, but it is worth saying that certainly their cup team and starting to filter into the league team has got a few good homegrown players in it as well. And yeah, we just came up short against what is a good developing side with a very good head coach as well. And yeah, sometimes you do just have to look at it and go, fair enough. We both teams putting out a cup team with a smattering of first team players in it, and plus those players that have been given plenty of development time in the cup. So both teams learn plenty from it. But yeah, you just got to hold your hands up sometimes and go, better team won it on the day.
Absolutely, I think that's 100% right. One niggle from me, big showcase final, as it were. Glad that it was able to be viewed for those of us who didn't go down there. Brilliant for those that did go down there. I mean, the support from the Saracens side of things, which is a long journey down there, particularly as many of the guys will have been at Twickenham the day before as well. All kudos to those guys who made it down to Exeter. But you're having a big final and you're going to play it somewhere. Really, if you've got fans who are going to do something like the Tomahawk Chop every 20 seconds, I just hate hearing it. And we know they shouldn't be doing it. They've been asked not to do it, and that's all you heard. The whole game, it seemed to me. Didn't like it, Sam.
I've been saying it all season. Obviously Exeter get played quite a lot on BT Sport as well. And it is, you do hear it a lot. And I actually, when we played them at home, you heard it a fair bit about the Stone X, and the Exeter fans around me, I actually asked them to stop doing it. Because whether you agree with what has happened at Exeter in terms of the change in the logo and all that kind of stuff, it has been decided that it's not fit for that sort of those images, etc., to be portrayed. So whether you agree with it or not, the sanction has been it shouldn't be allowed and it should be changed. Therefore, why is it not being upheld in the stands? And my thought on it has always been that your club, Exeter fans, have paid out over. I think they said the cost of it was in the millions. For changing all the emblems and all that kind of stuff around the ground, the changing of the bar names, all this stuff. And then it's almost like you're taking the mick out of your own club by then continuing to do this, let's be honest, very annoying chant throughout your games. Find a new song, or don't sing it at all, is my opinion, harsh or not. I just think it's a real shame that it's still going on, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. But let's, we've done that bit. We got that off our chest. Let's talk about the good things from the weekend. And the good things from the weekend was a culmination of what has been an excellent TikTok Six Nations women's competition. Finishing off with a cracking match to start the Saturday in front of a world record crowd of 58,500 people at Twickenham. And a lot of people from the club went. The supporters, Joe was obviously there, Loxie, lots of people there. Had a thoroughly good day and saw a cracking game of rugby, I think. You know, we were slightly worried that England might have gone in. You know, myself and Joe spoke about last week, having not paid Ireland's 100% respect, we didn't think, you know, was that going to come back and bite England on the backside? And for the first 10 minutes, you thought it was. And then Hannah Bottoman just did what Bots does and changed the game with one turnover. And her reaction was, first of all, you know, when people complain about players over celebrating scrum wins or turnovers or whatever, Bot showed exactly there with that feet planted, arms pumping like pistons. She showed how much that meant, and that changed for half an hour the game there, Sam, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you like you said, you watched the first few minutes and you're thinking, hang on a second, this fantastic event that has been put on, and like you said, world record crowd, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about, but yeah, you were a bit concerned. But I think the way that England then reacted to that, obviously there was that turning point, but the way that England reacted and played that final 30 minutes was some of the best rugby they've played, you know, for quite some time, including possibly the World Cup last year. Just looked really well drilled. Speed of the breakdown was excellent. Perfect power and pace combinations across the field, and everyone just looked absolutely on it, didn't they? But then it was, you know, the ultimate game of two halves, wasn't it? And France, and we know how good a team they are, come out in the second half, and England perhaps thought they'd already won it at half time, which it's very difficult. You know, you get into that mindset. We're looking like we're cruising here, girls, and then yeah, you sometimes you drop off the pace a little bit, and a team like France are going to make you pay. And actually, you know, in the end, that solitary score in the second half was the difference. So yeah, massive game of two halves, but a good day all round. You know, good win for England, and a lot of people there to celebrate it. Which I might add as well, which I really thought was nice, was when they showed you shots of the crowd. It was a real mix between guys and girls in the crowd, which I think is really, really important to see, that you got, you know, lads there as well supporting the girls as rightly they should be.
Well, absolutely. And I think, Matt, you know, I mean, we're possibly the last people to talk about this, looking at, you know, free lushes here. I mean, I'm on the non-alcoholic IPA today because I still haven't run my thing. But I think someone had written in one of the newspapers, was it the Telegraph or something, where they were saying about what, you know, one, kudos to the RFU that we're very quick to criticise them for a number of different things, but they did a grand job with that. But also how refreshing it was to see a crowd there not getting up every 20 seconds to go to the loo to get rid of another 6 pints of overpriced lager. And, you know, people were there for the rugby, and it was really gratifying to see. And perhaps some of us could learn something from that. You know, kids were there. They weren't worried about kids being exposed to drunkenness or whatever, which you do get at games. We know it, and we've been as responsible for it ourselves, I suppose, on occasions. But yeah, it was just really nice to see, wasn't it, Matt?
It was, yeah. It seemed like a really good atmosphere. I did sort of read the report about there was a person at the bar, behind the bar, standing at the Guinness pump, expecting to be working 24/7 pretty much, and it was like a ghost town apparently, which at Twickenham is pretty unusual. But I mean, as Sam said, it was a good mix in the crowd. But yeah, just a different atmosphere. It doesn't mean it was a better or worse atmosphere, but a different one that was pretty fantastic, really. And yeah, I'm the first one to get annoyed by the Hooray Henrys that aren't actually there to watch the rugby. They're just there to get on the lash. But I've had a few beers at a game myself and not managed to hold it in until half time, so I'm not going to complain too much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it was a great advert for the game of rugby. And also, you know, two other great games as well. We see, you know, Wales going to Italy and putting 36 points on Italy to 10, which was a great result for them. And then, you know, Scotland's doing great in turning over Ireland, and I mean a close match there. So everybody apart from perhaps Ireland got something out of this tournament. And it finished pretty much as we expected it to do, but there was enough jeopardy in those games as to could Italy turn over Wales and get third place? Could Wales have done a bit better against England and France? Maybe, who knows? But they showed progress. Scotland had definitely shown progress. Ireland has shown enough that they've got something to build on to create progress. I mean, I just think it was a wonderful tournament. And, as myself and Joe said last week, we're not looking at these being women rugby players. We're looking at these being rugby players, and the standard was so high, the skill levels were so high. Okay, the physicality isn't the same as the men, but it's not a lot far off. And as I say, I mentioned Hannah Bottoman. I mean, she was acting like a wrecking ball at some of those rucks. And, there's a few men out there who wouldn't fancy taking on Hannah at the breakdown, that's for certain.
I've seen her scrumming against Juan Figalo, and I tell you what, I don't know, Juan was mucking around a bit, but it was pretty evenly matched, put it that way. I mean, you talk about teams in the Six Nations. I think Ireland have got something out of it, but it's just the fact that it's highlighted what an absolute shambles their organisation is at the moment. You see, with the likes of Wales and Scotland, they've been backed and they're getting the results slowly, whereas Ireland haven't. I mean, one of their best players was playing for Exeter at the weekend for reasons that a lot of people don't understand and we're not going to go into. It's pretty interesting, really. And I think what we need to look ahead to is this new tournament that World Rugby are bringing in, this tiered system of women's rugby where England and the other top two teams in the Six Nations will be playing against the best three other teams around the world. Ireland, finishing bottom of the Six Nations, will be playing against some of the developing nations. And teams are going to get a lot out of that as well. So there is a lot building correctly in women's rugby. And professionalism, everyone's only going to get fitter, faster, stronger as the years go on as well.
Absolutely, 100% right there, Matt. Just last thing to say for the women, I mean, obviously we're going to get our internationals back now. The Exeter result in the Cup, I would imagine, has lit a fire under those that played, with those coming back who really want to, step on again. I will say Marley Packer, I think, has put her body on the line over this Six Nations, has been an inspirational England captain. And there's no surprise that she was bound to be fit for that game because her inspiration is so much. But I did think on 55, 60 minutes, she was looking like, she was playing for a pain barrier there. Pot's come back, Poppy's back. They're bringing back the fitness. Jess Breach didn't get as much of a game as perhaps you think she might have done at the start of the tournament, whatever. But, there's plenty of great players who are in great form coming back. Holly, lots of things to look forward to, Saracens women, as we come to the crunch end of the season, Sam.
Yeah, and I think we've mentioned it a few times on this podcast about the competitiveness needs to be high in order to grow any sport. This Six Nations has shown that a couple of the other nations are starting to build, which is really good to see. The more competitive games that we see, the more interest it will gain. And in the Premier 15s, we've seen this season has probably been the most competitive for quite some time. There's reasons for that, obviously, with the World Cup, players not around, all that kind of stuff. But it does mean that actually, if Saracens do go on to win this Premier 15s, it could very well be the most satisfying win of all of the recent ones because of how much improvement we've seen in some of the other teams, and we've actually dropped off a little bit, I think. So lots to play for. As you said, there's going to be a lot of very tired bodies. There's a lot of girls out there that have played a hell of a lot of rugby over the last 12 months when you factor in the World Cup. So it's going to be a grind, but we know that we've got some of the best players in the world in our starting 15. So who knows? I still back us on a one-off game. So I would not be surprised if we still went on and took it home.
Well, it's worth saying as well, just tying it all together, that 2 weeks' time, Premier 15s gets back underway. I think there's 4 games of the season left, and the next one we've got is Exeter at home. So wrap it all up. They're top of the league as well, so beat them at home sets a precedent.
Yeah,
well, I think we're pretty nailed on for the top 4, but we're still chasing that home semi-final. I think maybe 10 points behind possibly. So there's a lot to play for and right the wrongs.
Indeed, there is, and it's very exciting. But let's stop there. We've got our big interview now that I've done with Jackson Wray to talk about someone who is not only a club cult hero, but a club legend. So, yeah, let's sit back, listen to what Jackson's got to say for himself, and then we'll come back and have some thoughts about the great man himself.
You're listening to the Fezcast, which is proudly sponsored by the Saracen Supporters Association, and I'm Alison Davis, one of the SSA committee. For a £10 annual subscription, the SSA provides our members with monthly newsletters, virtual and in-person player events, away match ticket allocations, and we organise pre-match gatherings at away matches. We sponsor men's and women's players, and we support the Saracens Foundation Track Club on behalf of our members. On top of all that, every year we have a seasonal SSA badge, which is exclusive to members. Where else can you get that much value for a tenner? Join now at membermojo.co.uk/SSA, or come and see us on match day in the Oasis at the Stonex.
This is the Fezcast.
Well, welcome everybody to the Fezcast and our big interview this week. And there was only one place that we could go with this interview, given the news that come out of the club, that we're going to blow smoke up your backside today, Jackson, because, you are a club legend. You are one of, the player that the fans really do love at the club. But you've announced your retirement this week. So first of all, Jackson, we welcome you to the Fezcast. And second of all, we congratulate you on an amazing career that we hope has got a couple more highlights to culminate with. But how are you, mate?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you. Obviously, last week was a bit of a crazy week. With obviously being announced and everything that came with it, and we had our sort of internal get together as well on Friday evening. So it was a bit of a full on week, but I'm just looking forward to trying to add another good memory at the end of this season and wrap it up properly.
Well, absolutely. I mean, what I was going to say, we've seen an outpouring of comments and emotions and whatever from a lot of fans. So we want to take this opportunity as fans ourselves to pass on to you exactly what, how great it's been. I mean, for you, I suppose, funny enough, we've recorded our reaction to this interview last night, so it's kind of a bit weird, but we mentioned it. So you're kind of like the fan's fan almost, the player who typifies us as fans. We look at you and we see a fan on the pitch doing what we all want to do, and you've lived our life almost for 15 years. And we know full well that when you hit that pitch, regardless, Saracens is through you 100%, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's quite strange, actually. I don't really think about it too much when I get on, but just trying to, I don't really know. Trying to go as hard as I can, I suppose.
I mean, I'm going to make a correlation here, Jackson, because, you and me are both West Ham fans, aren't we?
Oh, we are.
And, last year we saw a player retire from West Ham in Mark Noble, who quite rightly was put out there as Mr. West Ham. And I see so many correlations between Nobes and yourself, Jacko. And, and I'm having, as a fan of both clubs, I'm having similar feelings as I did when Mark Noble retired, as seeing you retire. It's a piece of our history. It's a piece of the fabric of the club almost.
I appreciate that. He obviously played a hell of a lot, and obviously was there the whole time and didn't go anywhere else. So to be honest, I'd like to think we've been a bit more successful than West Ham, but easier to say.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, but you never know. We might finish off the season with a Premiership, Championship, and a European Cup. You never know. That'd be great, wouldn't it? I mean, the thing to say, obviously, something that we've mentioned on many times on the Fezcast is about when players decide that it's time to go. That very rarely did a club ever have a situation where we regret players going. And we're not saying, we obviously will regret you, but the question I'm going to ask is, you as a senior player, who do you see coming up now? Are you excited that you can leave the club and leave your position knowing full well that there are people coming through? Like we've seen Toby Knight has made a few performances. Obviously, Ben Earl is different custard at the moment. I mean, are you confident and excited in seeing who's following through? Who's going to be the next Jackson Wray almost?
Well, I don't know if there's the next one, but there's a lot of very talented back rows coming through. Especially first years this year. You've mentioned the guys who are further along their journey, but you got Nathan Mitchell is doing really well this year. He's playing, going to be playing a lot in the summer, and we'll get good sort of look at him at the start next season. And yeah, there's a few guys that are coming through. There's some that we haven't even obviously seen yet coming in next season. So we're very, we're deep in that area, to be honest. I mean, look, it's the game's changing all the time, but I think you've got a core group of senior back row players that are going to sort of teach them the way. And, you got Ben, you got Andy Christie, obviously Billy, you got people around who will be bringing them through. And they can be in a better place to get better. So, we'll be good.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, I mean, we're talking about on the pitch. The one thing I think that has come out of the comments that a lot of people have been making about your influence, not on the pitch, but off the pitch. And we talk about work rate, we talk about discipline, we talk about teamwork. But the one thing that I think you typify, and it certainly has come out of everybody, what everybody's been commenting, is that core aspects of humility and how you conduct yourself, not only on the pitch, but off the pitch, can only be of great influence and help to those younger players coming through. And I think that's really to your credit as well.
Yeah, no, look, it's a massive part of the game, and trying to help the club and the fans are a massive part of the club, and trying to make everyone love when they come to the stadium or wherever we see them is a massively important to us as players. We want everyone that we're doing well on the pitch, but we want everyone to have a rounded experience. We want everyone to love coming and feel quite that connection with the players, which you don't get in other sports. And ultimately we're just normal fellas, and we want everyone to feel like they can come and feel close to the action, and not feel a million miles away like sometimes you do when you go and watch football.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we saw this week the Leeds United players coming out of the hotel and blanking fans, and the criticism they've received there. I mean, for you, seeing the fans, whether it be old boys like me who sit there and still think they can play back row and play number 8, as I've mentioned a couple of times on the Fezcast, or the kids coming through are going to be the next, the 10-year-olds who you potentially, 10 years' time might be there. I mean, how important is that relationship that you've had with the fans and over your career?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple that I've obviously known from about 10, 12 years ago, maybe even longer, actually. And I used to sign the program for him, and he was about 7 or 8, and now he's like 20. And it's a bit odd, now he's a big lad, he's obviously at university, he's got a beard. I didn't manage to scare him off. So, he's still coming back. And look, it's a really nice thing, seeing, people, young guys coming to watch, or young girls coming to watch, staying close to the club for so long. They grow up with it as I have. And hopefully we share some of our ways of doing things, and it can impact them on what they're doing in their life, and that's a massive part of it as well.
Well, absolutely. I think that's wonderful. I know we remember, my dad actually made the comment, I remember seeing you come on for one of your very first games at Oxford University at the Iffley Road Stadium many, many years ago, and seeing you, I think Richard Hill was around the club at the time, and, hiking you on and giving you your chance and everything. And I mean, yeah, you've taken full grasp of that. I mean, everybody here will say it. You're far too humble, I'm sure, and self-facing to say it. But we're sat here thinking, the one thing that is missing off your CV is international recognition. You should have had international recognition. We know that. Everybody here will tell you that you should have played. Is that a source of regret, or is it just something that you're happy that you've got that career with Saracens? You've won all those trophies, and look, if someone doesn't spot you, they don't spot you.
Yeah, I think you've answered that question yourself. Exactly that. Look, I mean, again, in another time, maybe at some stage when I was, I don't know, some of the years in the middle, potentially when I was playing well, I obviously had a few camp involvements, but look, things happen, opinions are opinions, and I'm not the only one that's missed out on things when they've been playing reasonably well. And but to be honest, I wouldn't swap any of my Saracens career to have one England cap. So that's pretty much what, that for me, doing what I've done to be at a place like this and to have won what we've won and experienced on and off the field what we've done. If you would say, right, you got to swap all of that for one England cap, there's no chance.
Oh, that's a brilliant answer, Jackson, and absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that's the way it goes. Anyway, I mean, looking forward to the future. Is that it for rugby? Are you never going to be on the rugby field after the 27th of May at that final? Or is there an element of a bit of amateur rugby here or there?
No, unfortunately, no amateur rugby. I said to myself, I promised to myself that once I'd stopped playing this crazy game, I wouldn't be playing it again, purely for well-being reasons. I'll put my body through the ringer for a long time.
You're not going to be like Chris Chesney turning out at 48 years old or whatever.
No, Ches and me are fairly different in that sense. He could still operate, walking around, being an absolute unit, whereas I start playing my game a little bit differently. So I think the right thing would be to hopefully finish on a high.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the follow-on question for that is, I mean, in your statement that you put out announcing your retirement, you paid full tribute to your family, to your parents, but mostly, obviously, to your wife, Leanne, and your kids. Question I'm going to ask, are they ready for Jackson's retirement and not being around being around on the Saturday afternoon as opposed to being on a rugby field and, perhaps on a Sunday morning getting up and not wanting to play with the kids because you're a bit bruised and battered?
I think they're a little bit gutted, but at the same time, it's, it comes to an end eventually. I thought I'm very fortunate that I've been able to play my rugby career whilst they were growing up. It doesn't always happen, and they've seen my best times on the pitch, and they've been on the pitch, and they've been in all the all the fun part of it, and hoping to have one more of those to remember. But no, again, they're disappointed, but they'll realise that they were very lucky as well, I suppose, for us to have been successful and to have enjoyed it the way we have. So,
and any of the kids showing any application for the sport themselves? Is there any possible, dynasties being made in the same way as like the Farrells or whatever?
My son Colby's he's sharp. I think he might be a back though. Fortunately, I'm pleased about that. Games are very different when you're back, so I'd be pleased if he gets on the wing or full back or something. But he's going okay, and the rest are too young or not interested.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, the last question. I mean, what does the future hold for yourself, Jackson? I mean, we know you've got your business ideas and developments that you've got going on. Is the future planned out, or is it very much a case of you're going to just take a break and restock and reevaluate?
It's half and half at the moment. I've got some bits ready to go into, which is great. And then I've got a bit of time ready to explore things which arise. I want to try and do a few different things and see how it goes. And again, I've positioned reasonably well for that. So I'm ready to roll into that, hopefully quite seamlessly, and see where it takes me.
And of course, the last question is: you're not going to be a stranger to StoneX. You're not going to be a stranger to Saracens. you're going to be in one of the stands, aren't you, with a couple of pints of Wolfpack in your hands, take the kids to see the games, and possibly take the kids to see some West Ham games as well. You get the opportunity to do that as well.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be there. I mean, as I say, I'd like to stay involved with the club in some capacity, so it'll be, I don't know exactly how yet, but I'll definitely be down at games, definitely with beer in my hand. Not sure where yet, but we'll figure that one out.
Well, the one thing we would say, and what we would all there, if you ever want to come on to the Fezcast in the future as a fan, and off your perspective, we would always welcome you on. It would be wonderful if you would, if we could keep in touch in that way. But, we'll end this interview here by saying and reiterating everything we said. And on behalf of the Saracens fans, to say, you're an absolute legend, Jackson. Thank you for 15 years of service, as it were. Great memories, great performances, never ever gave less than 100%, which is all us as fans have ever wanted from our players. And yeah, you're a total club legend, and we wish you all, on behalf of everybody, all the best for the future in your retirement. And as I say, we'll see you for a couple of pints at the StoneX next season.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for everything.
Cheers, Ollie. Thanks a lot. And,
cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Hi, Alex Osterberry here, Director of Rugby for Saracens Women. You're listening to the Saracens Fezcast.
This is the Fezcast.
Yeah, I have to say, Jackson Wray, what an absolute legend that bloke is. And as I said to him in the interview, I think the one thing for me that the reason why he is so loved by the club and by the supporters and by his other players and everything is that he's a hometown boy. It's the it's not the rags to riches as such, not the Roy of the Rovers sort of thing, but it's the it's the lad who obviously is a supporter, will remain a supporter, and he's as close to you and I. If it wasn't for the knee operation or the this, that, or the other, he's done that almost fairy tale rise and been an absolute club servant over the years. I mean, Sam, tell us yourself. I mean, what are your favourite memories of Jackson Wray as a player and as a man?
Yeah, well, I think that first and foremost, I think whenever anyone announces their retirement, the way that you feel when you see that goes to show what kind of level he's at. I was really upset to see that he'd retired. It wasn't necessarily the biggest shock in the world. It was a shock nonetheless, but the fact that I was so genuinely upset with the fact that he wasn't going to be a Saracens player next season just goes to show, I think how well regarded he is. I wouldn't say there's necessarily one sort of specific memory. For me, he just epitomises what it is to be a Saracen, which is that he just has complete grit, determination, body on the line. Every time he puts that shirt on, whether he has a good game or a bad game, and like everyone, he's had a couple of bad games, he's given it 110%. He is not laying down at all. And I can't remember a time where he showed anything less than that. And that's what's a shame, because I think, having players like that around, look, we can go into as much detail we want about why the hell he has never played for England. But, you want players around that are just consistent. He is a consistent 7 or 8 every single game, pretty much. He might not always be a 10 out of 10. He might not always be your man of the match, but he's always going to give you a good level. And you need those players around to keep the averages up. And I think that's what we're going to miss from him. A true, one club man. And he'll be sorely missed on that pitch. Yeah.
It's an interesting point you make there, Sam, about how you feel when a player retires. And, there's been a few over the last few years that have come into that category that, when Brad Barrett retired, you felt that there may be another season or two in him, but you understood why he did. But also you were slightly worried about how do you replace such a great person? It will be the same when Owen Farrell retires eventually, whenever that may be. Hopefully, quite some time in the future. Richard Hill, Jack Berger, these players that you look at and think are irreplaceable. But then, the club are very, very good at making sure that not only is it the right time for the player to move on or whatever they're doing, it's also the right thing for the club to do. And I think, you look at the youngsters that come through, led by Ben Earl, obviously, who's that, that first breakout in that back row, but players like Toby Knight and everything. I think the future's in good hands in the same way as when Brad Barrett retired, there's Nick Tompkins coming through, and now you're sat there thinking, well, yeah, okay, we haven't missed Brad as much as we thought we would on the playing field as such. Obviously, there's different things he brought. And I think that's the same with Jackson, is that there's a certain amount of what Jackson does that you cannot replicate anywhere, in any way whatsoever. It's just, and that's what sets him apart. But, he's moving on when he's at the top of his game, isn't he, Matt? And it's the right time to do it.
Well, in a way, he is, yeah. If you're very blunt about it, though, I suppose if everyone was fit in the back row at Saracens, he's not in the 23 at the moment. When you've got the likes of Theo McFarland fit, Andy Christie fit, Ben Earl, Billy Vunipola, he's starting to struggle to get in that team, and he knew that. I was lucky enough to have a hospitality session at Saracens a month or so ago, and Ali Hargreaves was hosting it, and he had Jackson Wray as his guest. And the bit that came across from Jackson, then, all right, he was injured at the time, was that, one, just an incredibly down-to-earth, humble bloke. He's just a normal person who's happened to ended up playing Premiership rugby, pretty much. But he was quite self-aware, I think, is probably the best way of putting it. That, he wasn't the superstar in the room, but you could see that he's just dedicated to what he does. And yeah, I don't think his level has ever really dropped off at all. And it says everything about the bloke. The comment that John put on our Fezcast WhatsApp group of one of his best games, which I totally agree with, and I was going to say myself, was the Championship final against Ealing, where he had the worst 30 seconds of rugby anyone's ever had. Straight from kickoff, he's managed to drop the ball over the line, get himself a yellow card and a penalty try, and 10 minutes in the sin bin before the game's even started. And he ended up man of the match, because the 70 minutes once he came back on, he was absolutely fantastic. And that just shows you the mentality of the bloke. Like, didn't let that phase him whatsoever, and thought, right, well, as soon as I'm getting back on the park, I'm making up for it. And that's exactly what he did. And yeah, every time he's been needed this season, which is perhaps more than we were expecting, he has delivered. And you're right, he's going out while he's still able to play Premiership rugby to a higher standard, and he will play Premiership rugby to a higher standard for the next 3 games, and hopefully he goes away with a trophy.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, let's be completely honest, I think he's a casualty of the salary cap as well. He is still playing good enough rugby to be in a Saracens squad, and this might give a little bit of a hint now that possibly Billy is going to be staying, because we'd need to free up a little bit. And that conversation has probably been had with Jackson and the coaching staff. Look, mate, we haven't got a place for you for next year. And I think it's a testament to the man as well, that, let's be completely honest, he is playing well. There's a number of other Premiership clubs that would have taken him in an absolute heartbeat. Every single Championship club would have taken him in a heartbeat. You've got the likes of Billy Twelvetrees going and playing for Ealing. He could have gone and been an absolute superstar for them for another 2 years. But he's chosen to not play rugby anymore because he clearly just doesn't want to play for anyone else than Saracens. And I think that's actually pretty awesome, to be honest.
This is the one thing that when you look at young players coming through, and perhaps the importance of Jackson Wray as a teacher, as a model, as a mentor almost, is not what he does on the field, as brilliant as it is, but players like Ben Earl who've come through, and Toby Knight and Andy Christie, whatever, are going to look at Jackson Wray. And you remember, we always talk about discipline, work rate, teamwork. Humility is such an important facet of being a top quality rugby player. And you also know that Jackson Wray's not going to be one of these people who's going to be like James Haskell, who stole 30 of Jackson Wray's England caps, out there trying to stay relevant by talking any old just to keep himself relevant. Jackson Wray is humble. He's taken a really good living from rugby. He has, because that's just the nature of it, and he is grateful for it. You can tell that from the man that it's almost like a silent person, but his importance to showing youngsters the Saracens way of being humble, of not going on the lash in the middle of a medical or stuff like that or whatever, or are not tweeting this, that, or the other because they didn't agree with what a referee's done. That's so important. That's what makes Saracens such a great club, and the fact that our players don't get in trouble. He's a family man. He's got 4 kids. He's devoted to his family. That is such an important thing. And for young players coming through to look at that and say, if I do what Jackson Wray does, let's be honest about it, he probably enjoys a drink here and there and everything like that. And when he was younger, when they went away on trips away and everything, they'll have all done what young lads do. But it never impinged on his game of rugby. And he is a model pro. And I hope in some way he stays around the club so that young players can come through in the same way as he probably looked at Richard Hill and Jack Berger and the players that were before him and learned from them how to be a professional rugby player, not just on the field, but off the field. That is so important.
I think I'm slightly disagreeing with Sam, and I think he's possibly not necessarily a salary cap casualty, if that's the way we're putting it. Just based on some of the comments he's made this year, I do suspect that this is something he's been thinking about for a while and has seen what the situation is with the club and gone, yeah, maybe this is the right time. I don't think, some people do think he's sort of been forced out a little bit. I really don't think so. Just by some of the comments he's made, he has got to the point where it's not particularly easy to get out of bed on a Monday morning. He's picking up little injuries here and there. He's had a couple of concussions, and like you say, he's got 4 kids, and maybe he's just decided that best to go out now while it's on his own terms, as Brad Barrett did, rather than having to retire for other reasons. But yeah, you're right, Jez. I do hope that in some capacity he sticks around the club. I think it wouldn't be surprising if he doesn't, because he's given what he's given to rugby, and I wouldn't be surprised if it feels like there's no need for him to do anything else. He's not been an England superstar. He doesn't need to go into the media. He's got other little irons in the fire that he's got, and yeah, good luck to him, whatever he does. But yeah, he's for any youngster coming through the club, I think he is the blueprint of a model club man. Let's look at it that way.
Yeah.
The other thing on that, just going back to what Jez was saying previously about like just the Saracens way and Jackson Wray epitomising that. I think, Jez and I have both on Twitter recently commented on a few people's sort of teams of the Premiership teams of the season and the lack of Saracens that are in there. And as much as Jez and I have both disagreed with it on a few occasions, what a lot of people have actually said as a reaction to that is that at Saracens we're such a culmination of lots of good players coming together and being a great team rather than being littered with superstars that are standout individuals. And I think Jackson Wray sort of epitomises that, where, he has flourished in a team where lots of good players work hard for each other and become a great team. And I think that's where we hopefully will continue to dominate when these players do inevitably drop off, when the Jamie Georges of this world, the Alex Goods of this world do start to retire as well. We still continue moving forward as a club because we've got that way of doing things, the Saracens way. And I think, as I said, Jackson Wray really epitomises that, exactly what you just said, Jez. So I think that was a really good way of, I guess, signing off his career.
Oh, absolutely. Well, look, we've paid enough tribute to him, and you only have to see the comments on social media, the things that people have said, the memories. I think my dad mentioned seeing him come in on for one of his very first performances in the Saracen shirt at Oxford University at Iffley Road, where somewhere where I've actually played as well. But it's from those moments. This young lad coming on, he has been an absolute legend of the club, and he will live long in the memories of all of us, and also his name will be written large in the legend for those who come after us and the future of the club. Jackson Wray will never be forgotten, and I think that's testament to what a great player he was. Well, gentlemen, thank you for your time this evening, and as I say, thank you to Jackson and the club for facilitating the interview with him and everything. We'll be back on the 10th of May, looking forward to a big home semi-final after hopefully putting a few points on Bath just to finish off the regular season in a good way, with no injuries to report or anything like that. And so something to look forward to there. Although I won't be at the semi-final, obviously that's the weekend I run marathon. But we'll be back next week to look forward to that game and pick up on any other points that we need to in the world of rugby. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, for listening in.
Cheers all.
This is the Fezcast.